Welcome to OGW Studios, and today at OGW I'm going to be talking about my 10 Essential Guitarist Accessories. Now this is by no means a definitive list, as everyone has different opinions on what things they think they need for practicing and gigging. But this is just my list of 10 things I couldn't do without for any practice or studio or show. A good pair of earplugs is essential. They are very useful for you when you're in a practice situation or in a live show. You need them for sound check, you need them for setup sometimes, and it's really handy for me. I even use them for concerts when I go and see bands live. Find yourself a good pair of earplugs. You don't have to spend a fortune, and there are some really good ones available on the market for reasonable prices. And even get yourself some spares. Even the small foam ones can be good, and it's handy to have them with you because inevitably someone in your band will probably forget them. Guitar straps are always going to be a point of preference. Find the ones that are comfortable for you and get a couple of them. And make sure you've got the right thing for the right job. You might not want the same strap on your bass as you would on a guitar. Again, another item that's about preference, but I would recommend when it comes to guitar picks, experimentation is key. Over the years have experimented with different materials, sizes and thicknesses. Find what suits your playing, find what suits your sound, and get as many of them as you can. Make sure you have them around the house, in your gig bags, in cases, just always at hand if you need one. And if you're feeling really generous, get a few that match the sizes and style of other members of your band, just in case they forget. Now, guitar cables are often overlooked because they serve one purpose. They run from guitar to pedal or guitar to amp. I would say this is something you really need to think about. The length of a guitar cable is extremely important for your signal chain, and also the quality of that guitar cable is super important. You need really well built, really strong connections, stuff that can hold up to the rigors of gigging or practicing and constantly taking out and putting away. Now, if we're talking your main guitar to amp cable or guitar to board cable or even patch cables on your board, please look at quality over quantity. Sometimes spending a few extra pounds or dollars is definitely essential. Cable management is key. Please look after your cables. Do not just bundle them up and chuck them in a bag. That is the kind of thing that drives me crazy. I think cable management is something you come to later. You don't always want to be neat. You just want to sometimes be in a rush, especially if you're playing a show and you've got short setup times between band sets. Now, there's really no wrong or right answer as to whether you prefer hard, soft or semi-soft guitar cases. However, there is a wrong answer when it comes to quality. Flimsy, cheap guitar cases and gig bags are awful, just not worth the money. The couple of quid you could spend on that is just not worth the hassle of possibly dropping or damaging your guitar and the cost that would incur. Now, it's important to take a look at things like connections of handles, whether it be stitched or whether it be riveted on, connections of straps if you've got a backpack style case, and also another important thing is pocket space. Storage is key. I make sure every time I buy a gig bag or a case that it does have enough room for me to chuck things like straps, picks, earplugs and little things in there. And guitar stands are extremely important and often overlooked as well. There are different types of stands. There are swing stands that hold the headstock of the guitar. There are stands that support from the bass and the back of the guitar, and there are sort of combinations of each of those as well. Now, there's also the option to have multiple guitar stands offered by some brands. There are duo stands, there are triple stands, and there are multiple rack stands as well. But the key here is quality. The difference between your guitar standing up and being safe and your guitar falling over and causing irreparable damage is a huge difference. It's price, it's quality. You really need to look at the quality of your stands before you take them out and use them, or even use them in the studio at home. Guitar strings are a really tricky subject because it is really important about how you play as well as what you play. Now, action height, the feel, if you like to play a faster style or a slower style, if you want a bigger sound versus a sort of thinner sound, you can use strings to achieve that. Different gauges are important for different tunings, and even then there's no single answer to one tuning. I have seen very different methods used by different guitarists to achieve certain sounds in certain tunings. There are some fantastic comprehensive guides available on YouTube from other YouTubers and other artists around. There are some fantastic comprehensive guides available on string manufacturer websites. And my advice would be to go consult those videos, really take your time so you can make an educated decision on what strings suit you. And finally, a little key point on strings is make sure you have enough. Make sure you have spares if you are gigging. One of the worst things is to break a string when warming up. Breaking a string on stage, there's not much you can do, as most musicians at my level or our levels will not have a tech ready to replace your guitar or replace the string for you on the spot. So make sure you have enough when you need them. Maintenance and cleaning gear go hand in hand. Keeping your guitar at top performance is also keeping your guitar clean, free of grime. If you are gigging regularly and practicing regularly, sweat and dirt build up on your fretboard is horrible for when you come to change strings. It's important to have a healthy stock of things like lemon oil or other fretboard conditioners so you can keep the wood's longevity at the best possible. Maintenance and repair tools are tricky because if you're not extremely well versed in repairing a guitar, it's sometimes best not to try and do it yourself. But having things like Allen keys, screwdrivers, even something like a Leatherman, cutting tools for restringing are really, really handy. You don't need to go as extreme as to have fret file sets and things like that unless you are good enough and feel confident enough to do that sort of job. I think at least carrying a few essential tools with you, like I said, Allen keys and screwdrivers is a good idea just in case, because sometimes you never know when you're in a situation where a band member might need instruments sort of repaired or maintained, and you can help out doing that. Extremely key point that sometimes gets overlooked is just know your instrument. Know if it has any specific screw sizes or any specific access points for the truss rod and how to get to them if you need an extra long Allen key. Just know your instrument well enough to know what you're going to need when you are out and about. Now this one will be obvious to even the newest of guitarists. A tuner is key. You want to have a dependable, accurate tuner with you pretty much at all times. Now there's a variety of options available to you. If you're in studio or you have a touring rig, you might have a rack tuner. If you are touring with a pedal board, you would probably have a pedal tuner. And if you are playing at home jamming maybe, or even in practice, you may have something like a clip-on tuner. Now I'm not the biggest fan of clip-on tuners and I've tried them out in the past and find that they won't replace a good solid pedal, but as long as you have a good tuner, you start off on the best foot possible. Having an accurate and good tuner also promotes tuning. One of the worst things you can do is forget in the middle of a set to tune and have a song go by and realize that you were out of tune even on one string. It can be infuriating and that stuff can haunt you for a long time. So not the most glamorous thing to mention our essentials list, but I think just as important as everything else on this list is a paper and pen. Simple, it could be a Sharpie and some loose leaf paper, it could be a notepad and a pencil, as long as you have a way of taking notes. We all know that our memories are finite. We need to hold on to a lot of information when it comes to playing shows and when it comes to practicing new structures, writing, drummers learning parts, lyrics for vocalists. There's so much that can be achieved with paper. It always tends to be that one or maybe two guys in a band have paper and pens with them. It can be important also for when you're writing things like set lists. Having a paper and pen handy will save you a lot of hassle. Taking notes on your phone is not always as straightforward as it seems. You can't draw diagrams of fretboards or staves on a phone. And it just makes sense considering how small a pen and paper is and how little weight they add to your rig. You can just take that with you and have it if you need it. Now here's a few other things that you might need for practices and gigs that are not necessarily essential but will definitely come in handy. Number one, never overlook the importance and helpfulness of a really good guitar footrest when recording or playing. Footrest can be really helpful if you are sitting on an amp or even the end of a bed practicing, or just a dining table chair. You may be uncomfortable and that extra level of support that the footrest provides is really great, especially when using a guitar that suffers from neck dive or something like a Flying V in which you can't sit traditionally with. Number two, there's a lot of circumstances, especially solo recording or specific riff recording, when you'll need a good fret wrap or string dampener. I have seen some interesting things used in the past as a dampener or fret wrap in the studio. I have seen cut-off sleeves from t-shirts, I've seen bandages. These all work to great effect if you want to get that clean, accurate sound. And number three is something we've spoken about at great length on the channel in our gear overviews, and something we talk about a lot on this channel generally: pedals. I won't go into a lot of details, but you probably know this if you're watching this video already and have some sense of your sound and your style of guitar. Certain pedals are key. We spoke about earlier in the main list tuners. Tuner pedals are essential. Noise gates are great if you play in a band that uses high gain, loud sounds. Overdrives are really handy for tightening up amplifiers, especially if it's not your amp you're using, or you just specifically have a sound you like a lot tighter. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who need modulation, reverbs and delays when they're playing gigs because of specific parts of songs. And hand in hand with pedals, I think something extremely important is a pedal board. Neat and tidy pedal management is really key. I don't think you have to be obsessive about it or completely anal about it. I just think that having the board makes life a lot easier with everything there. Putting your pedals on a stage loose is risky for you kicking them. When you go to activate a part of a song, you may have a boost and you miss it because it's sliding around. I have played many shows where the stage has ended up like a swamp sliding around, and that pedal board has saved me the hassle of losing a pedal off to the side or by a monitor. Number four, this can come in really handy and sometimes you won't realize until you've not had them when you've needed them: batteries and fuses. Whether it be a 9-volt for pedals, or 9 volts for your active pickup system, or even AA's for a wireless system pack, batteries are often overlooked and often extremely important pieces of kit. And as much as batteries are overlooked, fuses are more overlooked. I have seen many bands where guitarists have been in panic because of their amps stopped working, and just the simple checking and changing of a fuse saved a lot of bother. Number five, if you're a more experienced musician, it might be really good to get yourself a solid, really dependable wireless system. Wireless systems can be helpful if you are sick and tired of cable management on your end when playing, or you just want a little bit more freedom in a practice room on stage. The final thing on the list is something that you probably won't realize you'll need again until you're gigging: medicines. Now, it sounds a bit strange, I'm sure, to a lot of people, but I've found many times it's been, very helpful to have a stash of things like anti-inflammatories or, painkillers or antacids. Really helpful when you're out at gigs. Who knows who in the band's going to feel rough and need something like that just to get them through the show. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you like the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends and tell your family, and hit the notification bell so you can see what's coming down the pipeline in the future from OGW Studios. You want to leave us a comment to let us know if you think we missed any essentials, or if you have certain different things that you would use that we might not have thought of at the time. And take it easy and take care.